dream. You know, I also read a little thing on Facebook today. It says, if you don't know what to get your mom, sit next to her at church. Amen. So Sister Janice, I'm sure gave your mom today one of the best presents, just to be able to sit with her. I know you attend another church, but just to visit and be with her is nice. And Sister Ellen, I also want to say it's so nice to see the strength that you have. You may be dismissed today. I saw you walking back down the aisle. Wow, look at, she's got a little step, skipping her step. So let's give the Lord a clap offering for the strength that she's given Sister Ellen. So refreshing to you. It's good to see you too, sis. Well, happy Mother's Day to every mother out there and every woman out there. Can I get this turned down just a little bit? I have a big mouth. Thank you. But happy Mother's Day to all the women out there. Mother's Day is not just a time to celebrate those that have birth children, but there's also foster parents. There's also adoptive parents. There is spiritual moms that have taken ones under their wing. So today we want to celebrate women. There's also ones in here that will have kids maybe about 30 years because she's going to live with mom until she's 40. Yeah. So today we celebrate women. Whether it's a mother, spiritual mother, soon-to-be mother one day, long time, or if you've been a mentor to someone, you know, that's one of the best things you can do too, is take someone under your wing and mentor them. So I'd like to ask Sister Slater if you would stand and pray tonight, this morning.
Father, we thank you for this time to worship you and come into your house and hear your word being spoken. We pray that you for blessings on this as we hear the scriptures and the message this morning. Open our ears, Lord, that we might hear and apply to our lives what you have to say to us today. Bless the speaker and anoint her in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So my answer is right. When you ask what you can do, you're going to get asked. This is definitely out of my comfort zone as well. A Sunday morning up here is very scary. Any time up here is scary, but a Sunday morning I think is just a little extra scary. But I'd like to start off with something cute and funny. You know, today's the day that we kind of do things a little different than we do, so I like to start out with something a little funny. It was 10 lessons you can learn about life from a child. Number 1, no matter how hard you try, you can't baptize a cat. Number 2, when your mom is mad at your dad, don't let her brush your hair. You know, I know that. That's you know. If your sister hits you, don't hit her back. They always catch the second person.
True.
Never ask your 3-year-old brother to hold a tomato. You can't trust dogs to watch your food. Don't sneeze when someone is cutting your hair. Puppies still have bad breath even after eating a Tic Tac. Never hold a dustbuster and a cat at the same time. School lunches stick well to the wall. My favorite one, you can't hide a piece of broccoli in a glass of milk. And I know these are kind of comical, but there's a lot of things that we can learn from children, just from their view of life and how they see things. But I'd like to start off in Exodus chapter 2. Start with Exodus chapter 2, verse 2. And this is talking about Moses, and just a little prehistory here is Pharaoh had ordered all the children, the young boys, to be killed. So here Moses' mother, we're looking at her in verse 2. It says, and the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. Now that in itself, I think, for a mom would be hard, is to hide your child away from everybody for 3 months. You know, when you have a baby, you want to show everybody. I know when David and Clara came to us, we wanted to show them off to everybody. And once our adoption was finalized and we could put stuff on Facebook, I'm telling you, I flooded Facebook with about every picture I had of them probably, because I wanted everybody to see this special gift that God gave us. So that alone for his mother had to be hard, to hide him, to keep him from everybody. Verse 3 says, and when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrush, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. So we all know as moms and spiritual mothers, people that care about anybody, we're going to do our best to protect our children. But in our own mind, how much sense would it make to put your baby in a basket and float him down the river? You know, in our mind, that just doesn't seem logical. But I believe that she was being guided by God because he had a purpose. He knew exactly where that basket was going to go. And she had to have an enormous amount of trust in God.
Amen.
To put her baby in here.
Amen.
Right.
Even though it didn't seem like all the pieces of the puzzle at that time were fitting, God still had a plan. And I read this wonderful quote on Facebook the other day that said, if you can trust a puzzle maker to give you every piece of the puzzle and that puzzle to go together, how much more can you trust God?
Amen.
You know, God had that puzzle, and it was going to fit perfectly together. Number 4 says, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. So I have a very vivid imagination. My mind runs all the time. And I can just imagine Moses floating down the river, and his sister, I don't know, just for me, I imagine her running to have to keep up. Because most of the time, rivers are kind of swift to me. So I can imagine her running and running, and there he is, is he okay, is he okay? And I can relate so much of that to my own kids on that story and the closeness, because Damien and Clara are very, very, very close. Very close. And I can imagine that Clara would protect Damien with her life. And I imagine that Moses' sister was doing the same thing. She might have been running and tired. She might have had a long day. We don't know how long she followed him for. But she took on the task of being the sister in a great way. Number 5 says, and the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent for her maid to fetch it. A divine appointment. Moses to be there at the exact time that Pharaoh's daughter was bathing was not an accident. It was the design and the plan of God.
Amen.
Number 6 says, and when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. And I love that part that says, she had compassion on him. He wept, and something in her heart just kind of let that compassion that God brought upon her, because he had a plan. Number 7 says, then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. God gave Jacob, and I'm probably not saying that right, more time with her child. She got to nurse it. She got to be with him. But the most important thing God gave her was peace of mind. She knew that her baby was going to be safe. Number 10 says, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. So we have 3 women in this illustration here. We have Jochebed, which is Moses' mother, Miriam, which is Moses' sister, and Pharaoh's daughter. Each one of those women played a different part. No part was the same. Miriam couldn't be Moses' mom. Moses' mom couldn't be Pharaoh's daughter. They each had their own individual role to play in the destiny of Moses. And each and every one of those roles was important. Just like each and every one of our jobs as a mom or as a woman is important. I may not have your role and you may not have mine, but how boring would it be though? If we were all the same? If we were all like me, we would constantly get mad at each other because we would say you're going to do it, and you would say no, I'm not, because that's kind of how I am. So we would all be trying to, you would go, I'm not. And then we'd go, okay, I'm sorry. You know, if we were all the same, wouldn't it be so boring? But I can't play your role, Sister Carrie, and you can't play mine. And I don't want to play your role at all. That's scary up there, even running service. And I would want to be the activities director because I do not do a good job. But we are all destined to play our own part in the role that God has asked us to play. And sometimes I think that we get discouraged in ourselves because I can look at you and say, well, you're so pretty, you got it all together, you know how to do your makeup. I can't even do my makeup, that's why I never wear any. And if I compare myself to you, I'm never going to be what God wants me to be because I'm trying to be like you. But if we could hold a mirror in front of us and say, God, let me see me how you see me, then we would see the potential that we had. Moses' mother didn't say, well, I don't know what to do. You know, I can't do nothing about it. I'm not adequate enough. This idea of floating a baby down the river, you know, it's not going to work for me. No. She looked in the mirror and said, God, if this is what you're asking me to do, I'm going to do it. And that's the same thing that we've had. You guys say, God, let me see me how you see me. I'd like to go over to Hebrews 11 and 23. It says, by faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. Faith. By faith. When he was born, he was hid. They had to have faith, and we have to have that same type of faith in our walk with God. Of no matter what God is asking us to do as women, we have to have the faith that he's asking us to do it, that he is going to help us. My auntie always says that she gets so nervous up here. It's out of her comfort zone. But you know what? She does a great job. You know why? Because she gets up and she does it for God.
Amen.
She does it for God and for no other reason. Sister Black, I know I wasn't here for the whole Sunday school lesson. We were in the teens. But at the end, I heard you say to pray for your voice, that you didn't have much of a voice. But you know what? Even though she might have felt like she didn't have much of a voice, she still, in faith, got up here to bring forth the lesson for us today, because she looked in the mirror and said, God, I'm going to be what you're asking me to be.
Amen.
And I'd like to go over to Proverbs 31 and 25. Some of my favorite passages about women, because it's absolutely beautiful. And I think that it gives us a view, a little bit of how God sees us. It's 25. So strength and honor are her clothing, and she will rejoice in time to come. The strength and honor are her clothing. God's clothed us with his strength, that we can do whatever he's asking us to do if we don't doubt ourselves. 26 says, she openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She opened her mouth with wisdom. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to say, and somebody needed help? And all of a sudden, you're just starting to talk, and you're like, where did all this come from? That's the wisdom of the Holy Spirit. If we ask him, he will give us the wisdom to speak when we don't know what to say. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed. I know it says children, but maybe it's your nieces, maybe it's your cousins, maybe it's your sisters. Maybe you've had a strong role in their life. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised.
Amen.
Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Maybe I should just stay down here. Can we go over to 30 again? Verse 30. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. Have you ever met someone who thought so much of themselves you couldn't stand to be around them?
Yeah.
You know? That's vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. I don't think there's anything more beautiful than a woman who is humbled before the Lord. Or a woman that's going to go forth, no matter what, to do what God has asked her to do. A woman that has the joy of the Lord overflowing in her, to me, is the most beautiful woman I can ever see. Above any supermodel, above any actress, to me, that glow of the Lord in a woman is just beautiful. God has given us a very important assignment as women. Like I said, some of us may be mothers, spiritual mothers, mentors, teachers, cousins, aunts, sisters. But he's given us an important role as women. He's given us the strength to overcome anything that's in our path. But we have to ask God to let us see ourselves the way that he sees us. Not the way the world would try to point out our flaws, or the way the devil tries to whisper in your ear everything that's wrong about you. When God looks down at us and he sees our humble heart, he sees beautiful. He sees a beautiful woman that has strength. I looked up some influential women in history, and it was quite inspiring. I'm going to kind of share some of them. Marie Curie played a huge part in developing the X-ray machine and is the first woman to ever win the Nobel Prize. She worked while her sister went to school. They couldn't afford for all of them to go to school, so she worked, sent her sister through school. Her sister became a doctor, and when her sister became a doctor, she sent Marie through school. She graduated with a degree in physics, and she was also a good friend of Albert Einstein. It would have been easy for her to look at the circumstance and say, Well, I can't afford to go to school, so why even go? I can't afford to do anything, so why even try? But instead, she said, okay, I'm going to help my sister because that's what God's asking me, I would believe, for me to do right now. And then when my time comes, I'll go forth in what God has for me to do. So she played a wonderful role as a sister that God was asking her to do. And then she played a wonderful role in helping to develop some things. Betsy Ross was accredited for making the first American flag, and she made flags for the Pennsylvania Navy during the American Revolution. So this was a time of war that she designed and made these flags. She didn't say, well, it's war, I can't do anything. No, she said, God, whatever you want me to do, even in the midst of war, I'll do it. Mother Teresa, I know we all know her, dedicated her life to helping others. I learned something about her I never knew. Maybe some of you knew it, but I did not. She actually started out as a teacher, and she taught in India for 2 decades. She was on a train, still a teacher, on a train when she heard the voice of God speak to her, tell her to leave teaching and go into ministry to the poor. I never knew that. You know, she didn't say, but God, I have this teaching credential, and this is what I've done for 2 decades. I don't know how to do the rest. No, she said, God, I'm looking in the mirror, and you're telling me to do this, and I can do it. She didn't let any of that stop her. Florence Nightingale became known as the founder of modern nursing. She prayed for God to give her a task that would define her life. When you ask God to help you do something, He's going to help you do it. When you ask Him to help you step out more, He's going to do it. You know what she did? She trained and organized nurses to care for wounded soldiers during the Seminole War. She went into a hospital that was filthy and dirty and no order and took a bunch of nurses, cleaned it up, made it clean and helped others, and then began to help make modernization nursing, being clean, doing other things. And she was a big influence in the nursing industry. Fanny Crosby wrote over 9,000 hymns in her lifetime. Took her an hour and a half to write Blessed Assurance. But you want to hear the kicker of the story? She was blind. Couldn't see. She didn't let it stop her though. She said, God, I've got this song in my heart. And no matter what it takes, God, I'm going to do it. You've put the song in my heart. Blind or not, God, I'm going to write those songs. That to me, I think, was the most inspiring woman that I looked up. Blind, but wrote songs about her love of God. That is amazing to me. And women, these were women that were not afraid to see themselves the way God sees them. So if I could leave you with anything today, I would really encourage you, look in the mirror once in a while and say, God, let me see myself the way that you see me. And men, you as well. Ask God to help you see yourself as the man God sees. Because we can look in the mirror and see all our flaws, or we can look in the mirror and see what God wants us to be. Amen? Well, today we have some gifts for the women. But first, I would like to take a group picture with all the ladies, and we get all the ladies to come forward. Don't want to forget to do the group picture, because I will have a very upset moment, and we will have to redo this all next Sunday. Do you have a